I'll never forget the moment I first suspected something was wrong. It started with something small, something I could have brushed off if I hadn't been paying attention. My wife, Olivia, had this habit of twisting her wedding ring around her finger whenever she was lost in thought. It was a simple band, gold with a tiny emerald that glinted when the light hit it just right. She'd always loved that ring, said it reminded her of the day we promised forever. But one evening, as we sat on the couch watching some mindless reality show, I glanced at her hand. The ring was gone. Not on the table, not tucked into her pocket, just absent. I kept my tone light, casual, like it didn't mean anything. "Hey, where's your ring?" I asked. She didn't even look up from her phone, just muttered something about it being at the jeweler's for a cleaning. Her voice was too quick, too sharp, like she'd rehearsed it. I frowned. A cleaning? After 6 years, she'd never mentioned needing it cleaned before. She shrugged, her eyes still glued to the screen. "Yeah, it was getting dull," she said. I let it go, but that little missing ring lodged itself in my mind like a splinter I couldn't pull out. Olivia had been different lately, distant, polished in a way she hadn't been in years. She'd started dressing up more, spending extra time on her hair, her makeup. I'd assumed it was for her, a way to break the routine of our quiet life. But now I wasn't so sure. 2 weeks later, I got my first real clue. She told me she'd be out late with a new networking group. I'm not the controlling type, never cared if she wanted to grab drinks with friends or go to some event solo. But this time, her story felt off. I tested her, keeping my voice even. "Oh cool, what group?" Her answer came too fast. "Just some work people, you wouldn't know them," she said, brushing me off. Normally, Olivia loved sharing every detail of her day, from the coffee she spilled on her desk to the gossip she overheard in the break room. But now, her words were clipped, her tone tight. I didn't push, but the seed of doubt grew roots. That Saturday, I decided to see for myself. It wasn't hard to figure out where she might be. I'd overheard her mention a trendy bar downtown she'd been to lately. I told myself I was just curious, that I'd pop in, say hi, maybe join her for a drink. But the moment I stepped into that dimly lit place, I saw her. Not with a group, not with coworkers. Olivia was leaning against a guy I'd never seen before, her hand resting on his arm, her laugh too loud, too warm. I froze, my chest tightening as I watched from the shadows. She touched his face, her fingers brushing his cheek like it was nothing new, and something inside me broke. Then she kissed him. A quick, familiar peck that said this wasn't the first time. I didn't storm over, didn't yell. I just turned and left, my mind racing. My hands clenched so tight my knuckles ached. She knew I saw. She caught my eye for a split second as I slipped out the door, her face flickering with panic before she bolted from the party. She thought I was upset, that I'd sulk or confront her when she got home. But she was wrong. I wasn't just hurt. I was planning revenge. Driving home, I replayed that kiss over and over, the way she leaned into him, the ease of it all. By the time I pulled into our driveway, Olivia was already there, her car parked crooked like she'd rushed. She was in bed when I walked in, pretending to sleep, her phone glowing faintly on the nightstand. For the first time in our marriage, I picked it up. My hands shook as I unlocked it. Her password was still our anniversary, a detail that stung more than I expected. The messages were right there under a contact named Mike. Flirty texts, inside jokes, plans to meet again. One hit me like a punch. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. You're worth it." I sat there in the dark, staring at those words, and decided I wouldn't let her off easy. The next morning, I played it cool. Olivia shuffled into the kitchen, her hair messy, wearing my old hoodie like everything was normal. Morning, she chirped, pouring coffee. I nodded, sipping mine, watching her. "How was your networking thing?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. Her hand paused, just for a second, before she flashed a fake smile. "Fine, lots of boring small talk," she said. I leaned back, swirling my mug. "Funny, I was nearby last night. Thought I'd stop by. Couldn't find you, though." Her smile wavered, but she recovered fast. "Oh, we left early, went somewhere quieter," she lied. I nodded, letting her think I bought it. That's when I noticed her jacket on the chair, a faint smudge of dark cologne on the collar. Not her scent, not mine. "You're slipping, Liv," I said, picking it up. She froze. "What's that supposed to mean?" she snapped. I pointed at the mark. "This yours?" She laughed, a hollow sound, and snatched it away. "It's coffee, don't be ridiculous." But her eyes betrayed her. She knew I was onto her. I let her squirm, said nothing more, and started planning my next move. Olivia spent the rest of that day on edge, her usual breezy charm replaced by a nervous energy she couldn't hide. She kept glancing at me, like she was waiting for me to explode, but I stayed calm, letting her stew in her own lies. She thought I was just brooding, licking my wounds over whatever she imagined I'd seen at the bar. But I was past that. I'd already decided she wouldn't get away with it. Not her and not Mike. That afternoon, while she was out running some fake errand, I grabbed her laptop from the desk in our home office. She'd always been careless with her passwords, and sure enough, it opened right up. Her email was a goldmine. Threads with Mike, flirty little notes about meeting up, pictures of them grinning at some rooftop bar, his arm around her like she was his. One email made my blood run cold. A forwarded reservation for a dinner downtown, dated the night she'd claimed she was networking. I saved it all, screenshots, attachments, everything. This wasn't just about catching her anymore. It was about making sure she couldn't twist her way out of it. When she got back, I was on the couch, laptop closed, acting like nothing was up. She avoided my eyes, muttering something about traffic, and disappeared upstairs. Good. Let her think she was still in control. That night, I dug deeper. Her phone was locked now. She'd changed the password after I'd gotten in, but I didn't need it anymore. The laptop had given me enough. I found Mike's last name in one of her emails. Mike Davis. A quick search online turned up his LinkedIn profile. He worked at some mid-level marketing firm, a guy who posted about hustle and teamwork like he was some big shot. His Instagram was worse. Gym pics, craft beer shots, and a few too many posts with Olivia tagged, captioned with vague nonsense like, "good company," and "living my best life." The arrogance of it floored me. He wasn't even hiding it. I started with him. His company had an open contact page, so I drafted an email to his boss. Subject: concern about employee behavior. I kept it polite, professional, anonymous. "Hello. I wanted to bring something to your attention regarding Mike Davis. I've come across some public posts and messages suggesting he's involved in an inappropriate relationship with a married coworker. I've attached screenshots for your review. I'm sure your team values integrity, so I thought you should know. Regards, a concerned observer." I attached a few of his Instagram posts with Olivia, plus an email where he'd bragged about their late nights to a friend. I hit send and felt a rush of cold satisfaction. Let him explain that to HR. The next morning, Olivia was jittery, her phone buzzing nonstop as she paced the kitchen. She didn't say much, just kept muttering about work stress. I sipped my coffee, watching her unravel. "You okay?" I asked, all innocence. She snapped, "Fine, just busy," and stormed off. I didn't care. My focus was on Mike now. By noon, his Instagram was locked down. Posts gone private, stories blank. Someone must have tipped him off, or his boss had already called him in. Either way, the first domino had fallen. That evening, I took it further. Olivia was in the shower, so I slipped into our bedroom and rifled through her dresser. She'd always been meticulous about her stuff, but I knew she hid things in plain sight. Sure enough, in a box under some old sweaters, I found a burner phone. Cheap, no lock, amateur move. The texts with Mike were a novel of their affair. Pet names, plans to sneak away, even a photo of her in a dress I'd bought her, his hand on her waist. I forwarded everything to my email, then put the phone back exactly as I'd found it. She had no idea I was building a case. When she came out, towel around her, she froze seeing me on the bed, her laptop nearby. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice sharp. "Just chilling," I said, meeting her gaze. She swallowed hard, grabbed her clothes, and bolted. "You'll see soon," I whispered as she left, too quiet for her to hear. The game was on, and she didn't even know the rules yet. Thursday rolled around, and Olivia was a mess. snapping at me over nothing, her phone glued to her hand. She asked me what I was up to, why I was so quiet, her voice edged with panic. She knew something was wrong, but she couldn't pin it down. I shrugged her off, biding my time. That night, she said she was grabbing groceries. I nodded, pretending to watch TV, but the second her car pulled out, I sprang up. The burner phone was still in the dresser, and their latest text showed a plan to meet Friday at a cafe downtown. Perfect. I spent the next day setting up. Olivia was tense all afternoon, barely looking at me, which only confirmed she was going through with it. At 6, she announced she had a work thing, slipping on heels and a jacket. Have fun, I said, voice flat. She didn't respond, just left. I waited 5 minutes, then followed. I parked a block from the cafe and watched her slip inside. Mike was already there, looking twitchy by the window. Olivia sat down, her face lighting up in a way that used to be mine. It hurt, I won't lie, seeing her so at ease with him, but I pushed it down, snapping photos from my car, her hand on his, their heads close. They thought they were safe. They were wrong. I sat in my car, watching Olivia and Mike through the cafe window, their little world oblivious to the storm I was brewing. She laughed at something he said, her hand brushing his, and for a moment, I felt a pang in my chest. But I shook it off. This wasn't about pain anymore, it was about justice. I kept snapping photos, every touch, every smile, until she finally left. I didn't follow her home. Instead, I trailed Mike. He drove to a small house a few miles away, lights flicking on as he went inside. I parked down the street, noting the address. Then I made my move. I walked up, knocked hard, and when he opened the door, his face went white. "We need to talk," I said, stepping forward before he could shut me out. He stammered, "Look, man, I don't know what you think." "Save it," I cut him off, voice low. "I don't want your excuses. This is a warning. You've already got trouble at work, but if you don't stay away from my wife, it gets worse." His eyes widened, hands up like he could ward me off. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean, do you hear me?" I said, colder now. He nodded fast, "Yes, yes, I hear you." I stared him down, letting him feel the weight of it, then turned and walked away. He was rattled, and that was enough for now. When I got home, Olivia was in bed, pretending to sleep again. I didn't say a word, just let her think she'd pulled it off. The next morning, I upped the ante. Before she woke, I slipped into the closet and tucked a printed receipt from their cafe date into her favorite purse. Mike's name scrawled on it from when he'd paid. I left it on the counter where she'd see it, then waited. She came downstairs around 10, still in her pajamas, acting groggy like it was any other day. She poured coffee, then stopped dead when she spotted the receipt. "What's this?" she asked, her voice tight but trying to sound casual. I shrugged, flipping through my phone. "Looks like something from your bag." Her hand shook as she picked it up, eyes scanning it. When she saw his name, her face paled. "Why are you digging through my stuff?" she snapped, voice rising. "Just looking for proof of that work dinner you mentioned," I said, calm as ever. "Guess I found it." She slammed the receipt down. "You're unbelievable. Spying on me now?" I stood, cutting her off. "We're past pretending, Liv. You lied again, and you're not even good at it anymore." Her jaw clenched, but she didn't deny it. For once, she looked trapped. "What do you want?" she hissed, her voice breaking. "An apology?" "Fine. I'm sorry I screwed up. I'm sorry I hurt you. Can we move on?" I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Move on? You think this is a bump we just get over? Do you even get what you've done?" She looked away, searching for an out, then sank into a chair. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she said, quieter now. "But it did," I shot back. "So what now?" She met my eyes, tears welling up. "I don't know if I can fix this. I don't even know if I want to." That hit me hard, her words slicing through years of us. "You don't want to," I repeated, barely a whisper. She shook her head, a tear falling. "I haven't been happy for a long time. Neither have you, I bet." I stared at her, the truth of it sinking in. This wasn't just cheating, it was her walking away from everything we'd built. "Fine," I said, voice cold. "Thanks for making this easier." She frowned. What are you talking about? I didn't answer, just grabbed my keys and left, leaving her with the receipt and her crumbling lies. I drove for hours, her confession looping in my head. I don't know if I want to fix this. It wasn't anger driving me now, it was clarity. She'd made her choice, and I was done fighting for something she'd already thrown away. By the time I stopped, I was at a park near our old neighborhood, the sun high overhead. I sat on a bench, phone in hand, staring at the evidence I'd collected. Texts, photos, that receipt. Part of me wanted to delete it all, let it go. But no, she didn't get a clean slate. I opened a group chat, Olivia, Mike, her family, our friends, and typed, "Time for the truth. Olivia, here's your affair with Mike. Messages, pics, lies. You betrayed me and I'm done. This is goodbye." I attached everything, hit send, and watched it land. My phone lit up instantly. "Olivia, are you serious? You're ruining me." Her sister, Lauren. "Is this real? Oh my gosh, what's wrong with her? Mike, why drag everyone into this, dude?" I replied to him, "You crossed me. Deal with it." Then I blocked him. Olivia's mom called, voice shaky. "Is this true?" "Every word," I said. She sighed. "I'm so sorry, but she's my daughter." "I get it," I told her, and hung up. The fallout was fast. By evening, Olivia was pacing upstairs, her voice leaking through the walls. Panicked calls to Mike, to her friends, trying to spin it. I didn't care. I'd ripped the mask off her perfect little lie, and there was no going back. The next morning, Olivia was a ghost of herself, drifting through the house with red-rimmed eyes and a phone that wouldn't stop buzzing. She'd spent the night trying to salvage what she could, but the damage was done. I'd sent that group message and the ripples were spreading fast. She glared at me when I walked into the kitchen, her voice hoarse. "You ruined everything," she spat. "Do you even know what you've done?" I dropped my keys on the counter, meeting her stare. "Ruined everything? No, Liv, you did that when you decided I wasn't enough. I just let everyone see it." Her hands shook, her breath ragged. "I hate you," she hissed, each word sharp as a blade. I shrugged, cold and steady. "Good. Makes this easier." I grabbed a suitcase I'd packed the night before. Just clothes, my laptop, the basics, and headed for the door. She didn't stop me, just stood there, clutching her phone like it could save her. I paused, looking back. "You were right about one thing," I said. "I wasn't happy either. But I didn't cheat. You did." Her face crumpled, but I didn't wait for her to respond. I walked out, the door clicking shut behind me, and felt the weight lift off my shoulders. I didn't go far, just checked into a motel a few miles away, a quiet place to think. That first night, I barely slept, my mind racing with what I'd lost, what I'd gained. My phone kept lighting up with Olivia's texts. Furious rants, "You've trashed my life. Everyone thinks I'm a monster." Then desperate pleas. "We can still fix this. Please talk to me." I ignored them all. Other messages rolled in too. Her brother, Ryan. "Dude, this is messed up, but I get why you did it." My buddy, Jake. "Never liked her, man. You're better off." Even Lauren, her sister, chimed in. "Jess has always been like this. Sorry you got caught in it." I didn't reply to anyone. I just needed space to figure out my next step. By Monday, I filed for divorce. 7 years of marriage, gone in a stack of papers. It wasn't easy, letting go of that life, but every lie Olivia told, every moment with Mike, pushed me here. I had the papers served that afternoon. She didn't call, didn't text, just sent one email that night. "Got the papers. I don't know what to say. I didn't mean for this, but I can't fix it. Hope you find happiness someday." It was the closest she'd come to owning it, but it didn't change anything. I'd already made my peace. Meanwhile, her world kept falling apart. Jake told me her friends were dodging her, too embarrassed to stick around. Lauren said their parents were barely speaking to her. And Mike? His LinkedIn showed he was on leave, but whispers from mutual contacts said he'd been grilled by HR and might not keep his job. Their fling had fizzled out too. Guess the thrill died when the truth hit. I didn't gloat. It wasn't about joy, it was about closure. A week later, I started rebuilding. I hit the gym, Not the half-hearted workouts Olivia used to nag me about, but real sessions that left me sore and alive. I'd let myself fade trying to hold us together. Now I was taking it back. Work picked up too. With no drama dragging me down, I focused, landed a raise, started saving for something new. I even tried hobbies I'd shelved, boxing, sketching, stuff I'd loved before her. Each punch, each line on paper, felt like peeling off the past. One night, Olivia texted again. "I miss us." I stared at it, the words hollow. She missed the idea of us, not me. I replied, "I don't." That was it. She went silent after that. I kept moving forward. Found a new place. A small apartment across town. No echoes of her, just mine. I hung a sketch I'd done, a rough cityscape at dusk, on the wall. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Friends I'd lost touch with came back. Jake dragged me out for beers. My sister, Mia, called to say she'd always seen through Olivia. "You're free now," she said. Sank in slow, but she was right. Months passed, and the divorce finalized on a rainy Tuesday. The papers came in the mail, and I held them, the words "final decree" staring back. It wasn't an end, it was a beginning. I drove to a lake I used to visit as a kid, sat on the shore as the rain cleared, and let myself breathe. Olivia's life was a mess. Friends gone, family distant, like a memory. I didn't feel triumph, just a quiet pity. She'd built that ruin herself. Me? I was standing taller, freer, ready for whatever came next. Life without Olivia felt strange at first, like waking up in a house you don't recognize. No more tense silences over breakfast. No late-night phone glows from her side of the bed. The quiet unnerved me early on, but over time, it turned into peace. The divorce was done, the house hers to keep. Tainted with her lies, I didn't want it. I'd taken what mattered. My pride, my freedom, a chance to start over. That rainy afternoon when the final papers arrived, I didn't linger. I grabbed my keys, drove to that lake, and sat there as the sky cleared, dreaming of a future that was mine alone. Olivia faded from my daily thoughts, but bits of her mess trickled back through mutual friends. Jake said she'd lost most of her circle, people too awkward or angry to stay close. Lauren told me their family had pulled back, her parents disappointed, her brother done making excuses. Mike was a ghost too, his job gone, his social media dead. Their affair a brief spark that burned out when the spotlight hit. I didn't revel in it. She'd chosen her path and I'd chosen mine. I threw myself into living. Work became a lifeline. Without her drama clouding my head, I excelled, earned a promotion, started planning bigger things. I kept up the gym, the boxing, feeling stronger every day. Sketching turned into a ritual. Late nights with a pencil, turning blank pages into something real. I traveled too, hitting spots I'd always wanted to see. Mountains in Colorado, beaches in California. Each trip chipped away at the weight of those 7 years. Friends rallied around me. Jake with his loud laughs, Mia with her sharp honesty. "You're yourself again," she said one night over dinner. I hadn't realized how much I'd lost until I started finding it. Then came Hannah. I met her at a sketching class I'd signed up for on a whim. We were paired up, fumbling over charcoal and paper, trying to capture a sunset. She laughed when I smudged mine, her eyes crinkling in a way that felt warm, genuine. We got coffee after, talked for hours about art, life, nothing heavy. She was different from Olivia. No games, no hidden agendas, just a quiet confidence that drew me in. We took it slow, but every date, every shared joke, brought back a hope I'd thought was gone. One evening, as we walked by the river, she asked about my past. I told her briefly, honestly, about the betrayal, the revenge, the divorce. She listened, then squeezed my hand. "Sounds like you fought for yourself," she said. That stuck with me. Looking back, I don't regret a thing. Not the marriage, 7 years taught me what I could endure. Not the heartbreak. It showed me what I wouldn't tolerate. Not even the messy unraveling. Exposing Olivia and Mike gave me closure, not cruelty. It was a brutal road, but it led me here. A small apartment with my sketches on the walls, a job I love, a woman who sees me, friends who stayed. I'm not the guy I was with Olivia, tied down, second-guessing, shrinking to fit her world. I'm sharper now, surer, free in a way I hadn't been in years. Sometimes I'd hear about her, struggling to rebuild, alone, a shadow of the Olivia I'd known. I felt a twinge of pity, but no pull to fix it. She'd made her bed. I'd made my life. To anyone stuck where I was betrayed, undervalued, lost, here's what I'd say. Don't let their choices define you. You're not the fool for trusting. They're the coward for breaking it. Walk away when it's time, fight for your worth, and don't look back. It's dark at first, the hurt cuts deep, but there's light ahead, better than you can imagine. For me, that light was a new start. A year after the divorce, I stood on my balcony, Hannah beside me, watching the city glow. I'd sold Olivia's ring, the emerald one she'd stopped wearing. Used the cash for a camera, started shooting photos to pair with my sketches. My first exhibit was coming up, a mix of both, a story of breaking and building. Hannah grinned, proud, and I felt it too. Pride, peace, possibility. The past was a scar, not a chain. I'd turned betrayal into strength, revenge into freedom, and pain into a life I'd never trade. I was done looking back, forward was too good to miss. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave a comment and hit the like button. Share your thoughts. I'd love to hear your perspective.